Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's not every evening that I get to have dinner with three of my favorite fellows. My husband, Steve, my former fellow state senator, Murray Clark, my former fellow Lieutenant Governor, Michael Steele. Michael, we are delighted to have you here to spend the evening with us in the Hoosier State. I also enjoyed our, reunion visit when you were in Vanderburgh County just a few months ago. Welcome back. We hope you feel at home in Indiana. You know, yes. Welcome our guests. Governor Mitch sends his best wishes to everyone here tonight. He is on a vacation. He is out of state for several days. It's a well-deserved break. And before you ask, yes, we know where he is. Yes, we know how to reach him. And yes, he is with his wife. Well, maybe you heard him say recently that his goal is to be the most boring governor in America. And there's little likelihood of Mitch Daniels being boring, as you know. We prefer positive attention on Indiana. So, Michael, you can feel free to shine the spotlight on Indiana Republicans for forward movement and a lot of great things happening here. Would you do that? You know, we just completed, I know Murray mentioned this, but we just completed 6 long months of work in the Indiana General Assembly to adopt this budget for the next 2 years. Taxpayers across the state can breathe a sigh of relief tonight. You know, we have a budget that avoids tax increases. It leaves $1 billion in reserves. We have no cuts to our essential services. There are only 4 states in the country that have increased education funding as much as Indiana has. There's only 8 states in the country that will have equivalent reserves, and I might say most of those states are sitting on oil and gas monies. And let me just say that all Hoosiers owe a huge debt of gratitude to our Republican lawmakers. And I know from experience, how all of the lawmakers really come under fire when a special session of the legislature is necessary to adopt a budget. But in this circumstance, in 2009, Republican members of the House and the Senate stood together with the governor and with me. They held firm. They championed the cause of fiscal responsibility in very tough economic times. That's not an easy accomplishment. They saved Hoosier taxpayers more than $1 billion. That's in contrast to that budget version that was proposed by the Democrats in the House. So please, if you have lawmakers sitting at your table tonight, thank them for all taxpayers, thank them because we are blessed. And while that budget was a win for taxpayers, you might recall that the governor and I began session in January with a very ambitious agenda, as we always do, but our proposals for automatic taxpayer refunds, for our constitutional caps on property taxes, for our dollars to the classroom efficiency measures, our local government reforms, all of those measures were dead on arrival in the House after passing the Senate. And speaking of government consolidation, maybe you saw recently that the state of Maine House of Representatives voted to merge with their Senate and become a unicameral body, one body, if you will. Now, I don't know if I agree with the policy there, but every time I see Speaker Pat Bauer, I think maybe they're on to something. But you should know that Speaker Pat Bauer is not going anywhere. You know, the only way we can marginalize him is to send the Democrats back to minority status in the House. I know Republican leader Brian Bosma and many of us are looking for good candidates, and there are certainly some here tonight who can take on the Pat Bauer foot soldiers and become our partners in progress for the next 3 years and beyond. You know, under the current conditions that we work under, the governor and I, David Long, and the Senate Republicans, all of us must work twice as hard to accomplish half as much. If you help us deliver the House in 2010, you give us the opportunity to make much more forward progress. We can't afford to skip an opportunity, to skip a legislative session, to try and make positive change. There is far too much at stake. You can help us set the course for the next several years for more courage, vision, and results. I want to thank you for all you've done. I thank you for all you'll be asked to do in the future. God bless Indiana. God bless the GOP.